I want to know who your auto-buy authors are. Those authors that you like so much and their work is so good that as soon as they put something out, you gotta have it. Hi, I'm Michael Everts, and this is Fit to Be Read. I'm going to tell you who my top 8 auto-buy authors are right now, so why don't you get down into the comment section, let me know who yours are, because I want to find out. The first author I'm going to mention is K Jemisin. This is the author of the 5th season, and this is a Hugo Award-winning novel, and this has 2 sequels, The Obelisk Gate and The Stone Sky. These are great books. The only thing that's going to keep me from buying more of her books right now is I've got to read through these a second time. This is not a book that you read once and you've gotten everything out of it. And that's what's great about it. It's actually a good investment because I'll probably read this 3 times before I feel really satisfied with the story. Next up is Greg Egan, and I just filmed a video of books that make me happy, and I talked quite a bit about Dicronauts, so I'll talk about that one again right now. But here are a couple more. We've got Axiomatic. And this is a bunch of short stories by Greg Egan. He's also a great short story writer. I got addicted to him first, though, through his novels, which I'll talk about in a second. And this is Oceanic, so a bunch of short stories, science fiction. I highly recommend both of those. Probably Axiomatic more than Oceanic. Permutation City is another Egan novel. I wanted to show this one because I like the cover. Incandescence. This is one that could definitely go on my books that make me happy list. This is a great story about 2 different societies that cannot be done justice in a blurb, so I'm not even going to try. Then we've got Zendegi. I'm going to go down here because I've got Dicronauts down here because I was just filming something else. Dicronauts by Greg Egan, and this one is really interesting. You can see we have this hyperboloid world, and it has this star with an unusual orbit, which means that different parts of the world that are habitable now aren't going to be habitable later. So the cities have to sort of move to habitable regions as the region they're in currently becomes uninhabitable. And we follow these walkers and siders. So they're symbiotes. So the walkers are sort of the ambulatory body, and they have eyes and they can see in the front, or they can tilt their head back and see behind them. And it's either east, west, or north, south, so I forget which is which. But then they have the siders, which I believe are the ones that are facing north and south, because this is a 2-dimensional world. So you have to really get used to what that would be like to live in a 2-dimensional world. I don't know that that's really possible, but they have these symbiotes called the siders, and it's like a worm that threads through their skull, and they can ping or echolocate to the side. So they are going to allow then for a full range of awareness. And this is one that I recommend that people maybe start with. It's not his most well-known, but to me it was the most fun. And I really, really, really like the characters. But I can also see, because I've recommended this to friends who've read it and they didn't feel like the characters were very strong, I really liked them. I keep wanting to say I related to them. I don't relate to them at all, but they feel very alien. And I think I recently recommended this to somebody, especially because they particularly asked for books where the aliens feel very alien. This fits the bill for that. Let's see, who's next? Ian McDonald, River of Gods, The Dervish House. That's this one here. This is set in Istanbul, and I like a lot of his writing is done in areas that are atypical for science fiction. And I'm going to have a couple things to say about this and about River of Gods on my top 210 science fiction list, which is coming up very soon. The Dervish House is set in 21st century Istanbul in Turkey, and there is a terrorist threat going on, and we're following a bunch of different perspectives about the same event happening. This is a book that I highly recommend. If Adrian Tchaikovsky puts out a new novel, novella, novelette, short story, I'm there. Cha-ching, I bought it. Auto-buy, absolutely. Adrian Tchaikovsky, auto-buy author. I've got to read everything, especially because I'm in the middle of a series. So not only is he an auto-buy, I need to buy. I need that the third book of the Final Architect series. He wrote Shards of Earth, Shards of Earth, which is the first book of the series, then Eyes of the Void, which I just finished reading, I think either earlier this month or the end of last month, and there's a review of that on my channel. Also, Children of Time and its sequel, Children of Ruin. These are great books also. Children of Time is a great story. This is a dying Earth story. We're getting out of there because the Earth is on its last legs. The first ones to leave are Dr. Kern and her crew. She has this uplift virus which she's going to inject to monkeys and then set them off on this the terraformed worlds that we're going to. And the uplift virus, what it does is it creates advanced or speedy evolution. So it speeds up the evolutionary process. Well, guess what? It doesn't quite go as planned, and the story picks up from there. We follow sort of two different storylines. There is what's going on around Kern's world, where the experiment didn't quite go as planned, and then we have another crew that's left the Earth long after, who then show up on this planet, and then of course those two storylines eventually merge. In Shards of Earth and the Final Architect series, we get this ragtag crew that's sort of thrown together, and they are going against the threat of these moon-sized architects. The architects are these moon-sized creatures, and they're destroying inhabited worlds. They've already destroyed the Earth, and what they do is they turn them inside out, and the Earth looks like this model of a flower since it's been turned out. Well, as beautiful as that is, it's billions of people dead. So in the first book, Shards of Earth, we're sort of kind of wondering what's going on, how do we stop these architects, and why are they doing this? In the second book, it's more of the same, like why are they doing this, but who's pulling their strings and where do they come from? I highly recommend both of those series. I highly recommend Children of Time is a good place to start for Adrian Tchaikovsky, but I also recommend the Final Architect series because that is an ongoing series and it's really easy to get wrapped up. What I'll tell you though about the Final Architect series, in the first book, it's about 200 pages of getting to know the world and the characters, and it's a payoff because then I don't know, maybe the next 200 pages, I can't remember if it's a 400 or 500 page book, but then the next half of the book, it's like page turner. Then you get to Eyes of the Void, and from the get-go, it's just page turner. You're going to read through that really, really quickly. Next up is Linda Nagada. This is an active writer, and one of the series that I really like is the Inverted Frontiers series, and this book I'm showing you here is Edges, and this is really great space opera. Then we also have The Red. This was on my top 150 list last year. You'll see both of these on the top 210 list. This is a great military science fiction, and it's cover to cover, just really, really great action. So I would recommend this to anybody, and anything that Linda Nagada puts out, I'm going to pick it up right away because I gotta have it. An author I've spoken a lot about on this channel before is Neti Okorafor, and this is her, I believe this is her newest novel. I haven't not read this one yet, but of course she's an auto-buy for me, so I picked it up. This is Noor. There's some AI stuff going on in here, and I think there's maybe some social media references and things like that too. But the thing I know going in with Okorafor is the writing is going to be strong, and it's going to be really, really solid prose. I'm looking forward to that. She's also the author of a bunch of other books that I've already reviewed on this channel, like Remote Control, Binti, Who Fears Death, and Lagoon. You can find reviews of all of these on my channel. Lagoon is great. It's set in Lagos, Nigeria, and it is a first contact story, and I think it's pretty well noted for those who know about this book that it was sort of written as a response to the movie District 9 that didn't have the greatest portrayal of Africa and Africans and Nigerians in, I believe, Nigerians in the film. And this was sort of her response to that. And it has a lot of mysticism in, which is pretty common for Okorafor's science fiction. So this is probably one of the first ones that I usually recommend when I say to start Okorafor. I think Lagoon is a good place to jump in. If you're coming from more of a fantasy background, I might say jump into Who Fears Death, which is a bit of a darker read, but it is even more fantastical than this one. But this will have fantastical moments in it, absolutely. And my final auto-buy author, an author I just have to have anything that they put out, is Neal Stephenson. And first I'll show you the one that I have not read. This is Seven Eves, and this is a bit of a chunker, and that's pretty common for Stevenson as well. Cryptonomicon is phenomenal. The Diamond Age is phenomenal. Snow Crash, and I guess I should talk a little bit more about some of these. I just don't want it to be too long of a video. Ooh, I didn't show this. This was another Egan one, Zendagi. This is the Egan one that I have not read yet. I think, yes, I've read everything else that I showed you there from Egan. And Snow Crash is just a fun book. This is another one that I have on my books that make me happy list. And the main characters in this are hero, protagonists, and yours truly, YA. Yours truly and hero, protagonist. Hero is a swordsman in the metaverse, and he is a hacker, and he is sometimes a consultant for the CIA, and he's a pizza delivery guy for the mafia. They call him the Deliverator. YA is a courier. She's 15 or 16 years old, and as a courier, she rides around on a plank, which is this futuristic skateboard, and she gets around by pooning. That's how the couriers get around. They have these long cables that they kind of, I guess, they wind in and they can shoot them out, and they have a magnetic end, and they attach to vehicles, and then they ride the vehicles like they're water skiing. The visuals in this book are just phenomenal. It's quirky and it's cool and it's fun, and I highly recommend it. Anything that Neal Stephenson puts out, I'm going to buy. Anything that K Jemisin puts out, I'm going to buy it and read it. Same thing with Greg Egan. Same thing with Neti Okorafor. Same thing with Lyndon Nagada. Same thing with Ian Mcdonald. If you don't read these authors, check them out and pick one of the books that I just mentioned as sort of your starting point. There's other places to start, but those are the ones that speak to me the most, and they're the ones that I want to share with all of you. Please let me know down in the comments who are your auto-buy authors. Thank you for watching. I'm Michael Leverts, and this is Fit to be Read.